The stars remember. Long after their light has died, they burn on in the memory of the warp. Not all souls drift into nothing. Some sink anchorless into the storm, shattered, twisted, or hidden. But there are others, rarer ones, that do not fade. They slumber, buried beneath time, waiting for the right hand to knock. Somewhere far beyond Terra, far beyond Cadia, or the broken husks of worlds consumed by endless war, there was once a planet untouched by the Imperium's light. Its skies were not filled with fire. Its people did not speak in Benaric hymns or chant to the Omnissiah. But even in this alien land, something ancient stirred. A soul fragment, long forgotten, once part of the Emperor's design. A piece torn loose when the great rift of the Primarch scattered them through the stars. And into that world he was born, not as a general, not as a weapon, but as a child. A boy with no memory of Terra, no sense of his true design. Yet with every step, with every battle, something inside him remembered. Some voice in the marrow whispered of legions, of a father crowned in gold and silence. He did not know his name in that life, but his fists cracked mountains, his will broke gods. His laughter echoed louder than fear. This is not the tale of son Goku, the Saiyan from Earth. This is the myth of a forgotten son of the Emperor, reawakened. And if stories like this stir your soul, if you live for echoes of war, for ancient power reborn, for the mythic fire of impossible legacies, then lend your voice to this channel. Like, subscribe, and join the next reckoning. You were not made for this place. You know that now. Not in the way your fists remember, not in the way your dreams crack like broken stars across your mind. Not in the way silence follows every battle, whispering things you never learned, but always knew. You were born beneath a soft sky on a world that never knew the Imperium. There were no servitors humming through the ruins of empires, no vox hymns chanted across steel towers, no Skitarii marching through red dust. Only wind, sun, and the laughter of a simpler race, so far removed from the war that defines the stars above. But something ancient slept beneath that soil. A seed not planted by Saiyan blood, not carried by Bardock's line or the Mad Prince's pride, something older. A splinter of a soul cast adrift long before this galaxy turned to ash. They say the Emperor's design was perfect once. 20 fragments of divinity shattered and flung across the stars, each one destined to command legions in a crusade that would shake reality itself. Some reached their mark, others were lost, torn apart by the warp, consumed by darker things, or hidden in silence where none would think to look. And somehow, impossibly, one found you. You do not remember this. You remember only the scream of your mother as the pod fell, the cold bite of wind across your face, the stillness of an old man's hand lifting you from the crater. You remember hunger, heat, challenge, fights that made you grin, opponents that made your heart sing. But you never questioned why your power always grew beyond limit, why no one could truly match you, why even when you stood beaten and bleeding, something inside you refused to end. It wasn't the Saiyan in you. That flame had burned too bright, too often. It had its story, and it ended in cold space on dying worlds screaming names that would never be remembered. No, this was something deeper, not instinct, but memory, not heritage, but legacy. There were moments, fleeting things that made no sense, a name you'd never heard echoing in your skull when you stared at the stars too long, visions of golden thrones too distant to name. Dreams where your hands held not key, but a blade wreathed in light and justice, and always the sound of marching. 10,000 footsteps, unbroken, eternal. The first time you felt the change, it was not in battle, it was in peace. The world had stilled for once, no tournaments, no enemies from beyond. You sat beneath the sky, the same sky you were born under, and for the first time in your life, the silence did not comfort you. It itched. It burned. You looked upward, and you felt summoned. The stars above you weren't empty, they were eyes, and they had just remembered your name. Somewhere, light years away, the warp flickered. Not like it does for psychers who scream and bleed with every breach. Not like it does when demons tear open reality or astropaths burn under strain. No, this was not violent. It was curious, as if something behind the curtain of unreality had noticed a pattern long forgotten. A spark drifting where it should not be. You did not know this, but they did. On Terra, deep within the Imperial Palace, a custodian hesitated before the throne. His breath caught, not from fear but from a shadow that passed through the Emperor's glow. Only for a moment, but he felt it, a flicker, not from the Astronomicon, not from a black ship or lost navigator, from somewhere else. In orbit above a dying world, an inquisitor paused mid-litany. His servo skull dropped the data slate, and the runes displayed a name his order had scrubbed from all records. In the eye of terror, a demon prince broke into laughter. Not joy, not triumph, confusion, panic perhaps. It recognized the soul, but not the vessel. You didn't know. But your blood did. Your training changed. You began to move not as a martial artist, but as a soldier. Not for sport, but for perfection. Your body no longer sought competition. It sought war. Your meditation no longer brought calm, but memory. Images poured into your mind, white-armored titans forged by loyalty, silver halls beneath twin-headed eagles, a face featureless and burning that watched and waited. Chi no longer felt like energy, it felt like command, and when you rose from your stance, there was no laughter in your breath. There was purpose. Your friends saw it. They joked, called it moodiness, said you were finally taking things seriously. But there was fear in their eyes. They could not name what they felt, but they knew something in you had changed. And still, you did not speak of it, because deep down you knew that whatever this was, it would not belong here. The sky you once saw as a canvas of dreams now stretched like a battlefield. The stars no longer whispered adventure. They called you. They dared you. And something inside you, something that had never needed words, answered. You were not made for this place, not in the way your fists remember, not in the way your blood sings when you look beyond the clouds, not in the way the galaxy shivers even now. As one forgotten sun begins to awaken. It begins with the smallest fracture, a flicker behind the eyes, a word at the edge of language, a rhythm in your bones that does not match the heartbeat of any living thing around you. When you sleep, your body rests. But your soul, it roams. You see armor lined in script you cannot read, yet your hands trace it with precision in your dreams. You walk corridors of silver and brass, echoing with chants you do not recognize, but your mouth almost moves with them. You feel organized, staggeringly vast, as if you are no longer singular but surrounded by a presence, a brotherhood you have never met but already mourn. Each time you awaken, it's with the taste of metal in your mouth. Not blood, not oil, something older. Like the breath of a forge cooled too long ago, you walk the forests and rivers of earth, but now they feel too soft, too small. The gravity does not pull on your bones the way it should. Something inside you wants the stars. The next time you fight, it is not against a villain. It is not for justice. It is not even for sport. It is mechanical. You move with intention, but not joy. Each strike is precise. Each block wastes no effort. Your body operates with the cold brilliance of a tactician, not a brawler. Your friends cheer. They see victory. They see power. You see formation, discipline, deployment. You see ranks. You stop mid-punch one day, eyes wide, heart thundering. The man you're facing backs away, confused, but you don't even see him. You see a legion, 10,000 marching, silver banners raised, eyes forward, not one of them afraid. They move like you just moved, unified, relentless. You don't know what a legion is. But your soul does. Somewhere something awakens with you. A warship long buried beneath a dead moon flickers to life for the first time in 10,000 years. Its systems scream, not because of a breach, not because of war, but because they feel a command signal weak, ancient, but familiar. A Primarch's signature. Not his voice, not his mind, but his soul. And his soul is moving. On Terra, deep beneath the Imperial Palace, servitors shut down without cause. Tech priests scream about system interference. Vox networks stutter and spit binary gibberish that loops the same phrase, Gene Sire active, Gene Sire active, Gene Sire. But there is no Gene Sire, not anymore, not for that legion, because the Emperor never reclaimed that one, and the Imperium never knew he survived. You know none of this, but you wake with your hands clenched. You wake facing the stars, and every time you close your eyes, they are closer. Chi surges through you in ways it never has before, not like fire, not like lightning, like purpose, controlled, balanced. You begin to feel not just energy, but presence, distances, gravity, fields. You read the battlefield before it's formed. You begin to see how every motion belongs to a greater structure. You are no longer adapting. You are predicting, commanding. Vegeta challenges you again. You fought him 100 times. But this time, he hesitates. He says your movements are unnatural, too efficient, too refined. He says you're not fighting him anymore. You're training him, like a general would a soldier. You do not argue. You simply say, I remember things I don't understand. And then you leave. You walk for days, no food, no sleep. The earth feels more foreign with each mile. Your steps weigh more than they should. Gravity bends differently around you, as if the planet remembers what you once were and is unsure how to carry you. You meditate under unfamiliar stars. They speak more clearly now. You don't hear words. You feel arrangements, patterns, codes. Somewhere someone watches. You cannot see him. But the golden shimmer of a throne hums in your mind. Not welcome, not rejection, just observation. A great silence wrapped in power too vast to measure. You whisper a question once, out loud. Who am I really? The forest doesn't answer, but the wind moves in formation. The ground shifts beneath you, and somewhere in the warp, a demon screams, He asks! He asks! On the 7th day, you sleep again. This time you do not dream. You remember. The sky splits, not above you, but inside you. 2 suns rise. One is blue, crackling with ki. The other is gold, crowned in fire. They orbit each other, merge, collapse, and from the fusion steps a figure, tall, immense, clad in armor the color of storm-forged steel, etched with names you feel in your blood. He has your eyes, but colder, older. He holds a hammer, yet speaks without sound. His lips do not move, but you hear the words. You are not lost, only waiting. Then everything turns white. You awaken screaming, but not from fear, from recognition. There are no records for you, no astropathic logs, no blood charts or gene seed trials. The administratum does not know your name. The ecclesiarchy has never whispered prayers in your direction. And yet you exist, you burn, and in the realm that feeds on thought and echo, you are not unnoticed. The warp is not a sea, it is a wound. It feels everything. It remembers everything, and it fears forgetting. When your power shifts, no longer as a warrior's instinct, but as something aligned with a deeper rhythm. It does not go unmarked. You do not see it, but the warp turns toward you. Not with hunger, not yet. With confusion, with recognition. A ripple pulses through unreality, soft at first, like a child turning in sleep, a dream forming around a shape too long missing. On the edge of the Segmentum Pacificus, an astropath on a black ship collapses mid-chant, blood streaming from his eyes. His last words are not from a litany. They are a question. He dreams again? The navigator beside him does not understand. She simply adjusts course, whispering a hymn against madness, though her third eye pulses with the shape of a face she's never seen, yet trusts. A rogue trader's augury arrays distort mid-jump. The tech adepts argue over faults, claim the machines overheat. But the words pouring from the cogitators say otherwise. Soul print anomaly detected, origin unbound, cross-reference, Primarch class, no matches, no logic, no protocol, only a pattern, and patterns awaken things in the eye of terror among the whispers of demons and the rotted laughter of dark gods. Something old and broken claws its way to the surface. A prince of Zinch, once sworn to the unraveling of truth itself, stops mid-incantation. His sorcerers fall silent as he raises a clawed hand. He tilts his head, confused, then enraged. "Impossible," he rasps. "They were scattered." He howls toward the rift, but no answer comes, only a pulse. Steady, radiant, familiar, somewhere in the Imperium, Son Goku trains alone, his breath slow, his eyes closed, the weight of gravity no longer a burden but a partner. Around him the wind stirs not by weather but by will. The ki within him no longer churns as raw fuel. It shapes, refines, waits, as if it knows something is coming. He does not understand what he has become, not yet, but the ki does, the soul does, the legacy does. You rise each day now without hunger. Not because you do not need food, but because your body prioritizes something else, the forging of self, the expansion of potential, the memory of unity. You do not know the word legion. You do not know the language of High Gothic, but you hear drums in your pulse. Not of war, but of order. Command. It begins to reshape your instincts. Where once you chased strength, now you anticipate balance. Where once you tested limits, now you construct them. You analyze, you project, not to control, to lead. Chi blurs into something wider, not just life force, but leadership incarnate. The birthright of a Primarch's soul, to reshape the world not by presence alone, but by destiny's gravitational force. On Terra, in the hallowed chambers where the Adeptus Custodes rarely speak, one of them does. He asks a question not heard in 10,000 years. If a Primarch were born beyond our reach, would the Emperor have told us? Silence answers. But the Emperor stirs, not with words, never with words, but with light. Just a flicker, just enough to crack the blackened air for a breath. In the Schola Progenium archives, an archived data slate flickers to life unbidden. It contains fragments from the Great Crusade, profiles of the Primarchs, tactical summaries. One entry, thought purged, flashes on screen before disappearing forever. A name, not a Terran name, but a name nonetheless. Kakarot. The Inquisitor watching orders the vault sealed. He sends word to the Ordo Hereticus. Some things, he knows, must not rise. But what rises now is no longer a question. It is a fact. You feel none of this. You move between trees. Your boots barely touch the grass. Each breath now aligns with something off-world. Each motion trains not for local foes, but for something larger. You begin to feel alone. Not in fear, in scale. The people around you are warm, kind, brave some of them, but they do not share this fracture in their soul. They do not wake with the taste of steel and memory of rank. You speak less now, not out of pride, but because fewer and fewer words make sense. You dream of banners. You see names written in a language you do not know. But your heart answers when they are read aloud. You begin to draw without thinking. Not art, schematics, formations, symbols, tactical diagrams, glyphs, sigils of a faith not born on earth, and always above it all. The Golden Sun. You do not name him. You do not claim him. but you feel watched, and worse, you feel measured, as if something divine still wrapped in flesh has begun to take stock of you, piece by piece. They do not call it a miracle. The Imperium does not believe in such things anymore. They call it an error, a phantom signal, a glitch in the choir. The Adeptus Astra Telepathica filters it, scrubs it, reinterprets it, but the image remains, buried beneath data coil corruption and prayer lock encryption. A shape, a soul print, too stable to be demonic, too precise to be human, a Primarch's echo. There were once 20. 2 were lost. 1 fell, the rest broke. Some remain, statues of memory entombed in stasis, or worse, living relics feeding a decaying empire with silence. No new sun has been born in 10,000 years. No new light has been permitted to rise. So when the signal comes again, clearer this time, aligning with warp flux patterns once unique to the Emperor's own progeny, they do not proclaim, they do not announce, they question, they hide, they kneel. A custodian submits a sealed communique to the High Lords of Terra. It is ignored, then read, then burned. The answer returns only in order. No inquiry shall be made into events beyond sanctioned space without ecclesiarchal approval. But in the heart of the throne world, among the daughters of the Emperor who chant without, "Cease," one falters. She screams a name no one taught her. It is not Goku. It is not Kakarot. It is a name buried in the Emperor's mind alone, and it has begun to surface. You sleep beneath Earth's skies, unaware of what your soul whispers across stars. But the stars hear you, the galaxy hears you, and the God Emperor remembers. You were never part of the Codex, you were never given a legion, you were never mourned. You were hidden, or lost, or perhaps withheld. Some whisper that the Emperor had reasons, that 2 suns were never meant to rise, that they were too dangerous or too free or too bright for a galaxy drowning in shadow. But the records are gone, the memories are ashes, and now something new burns. A chaplain in the Ultramarines receives a vision during midnight rites. In it, he sees a flame with no sigil, a warrior with no armor, a soul without the aquila, without the gene seed, without the oath, but unmistakably born from the same divine engine. He writes a hymn. He never sings it aloud. It is confiscated within hours. Back on Earth, your body changes again, not in shape, but in center. The gravity around you bends slightly, as if your presence pulls more than mass. Birds alter flight paths to circle wider. Trees seem to lean away or bow. You say nothing, but you feel watched now, not from above, but below. The planet does not fear you, but it prepares, as if it too senses the difference. Chi aligns effortlessly, no longer summoned but waiting like a servant. You need not think to strike. Your power now listens before it acts. Your bones no longer ache after battle. You recover faster. But more than that, you adapt faster. Not as evolution, as design. And something inside you begins to whisper order, structure. Not just how to fight, but how to lead. You begin to test your friends, not to hurt them, to measure them. You see gaps in their technique that you never noticed before. You correct them without thinking. You structure sparring sessions with subtle formations, rotations, unit discipline. And the strangest thing, they follow. Even Vegeta obeys, not as a rival, as a second. Something has shifted. When you speak now, they listen. Not because you're stronger, but because you carry something in your voice that feels absolute. They call it maturity, wisdom, but it isn't that. It's command, not earned. Inherited. You feel it when you sleep, The pull of a legion not yet reborn, the sense that thousands once stood beneath your banner. And that somewhere they still wait. You dream of ships that no longer fly, of cathedrals in space, of armor waiting to be filled, and still, the God Emperor does not speak, but he listens, and in that listening, something ancient in the galaxy begins to move, not loudly, not visibly, but enough. In a vault hidden beneath the ice of a dead moon, a sarcophagus once sealed under 10,000 locks exhales. The stasis field surrounding it flickers. Inside rests not a body, not a soldier, a weapon, one forged only to activate in the presence of its gene father's echo. The lock opens. The system scans. It finds a match. Not perfect, but blood-bound. Authorization. Sun recognized. Activation. Pending. And far away, on a world that thinks itself safe from destiny, Goku opens his eyes to a sky that no longer belongs to him. It did not arrive like an invasion. No rift split the sky. No sirens wailed. No prophets screamed of doom. The threat came in silence. Wove itself into reality like a shadow lengthening at dusk. Subtle. Certain. You felt it first. Not with your senses. With your soul. The air thickened. Not with pressure, but presence. The gravity around you no longer obeyed the world beneath your feet. It bowed, bent, not to you, but to something approaching. At first you thought it a new challenger, another wanderer, another would-be god wrapped in bravado and borrowed power. That had happened before, demons in borrowed flesh, machines chasing prophecy, all of them loud, but this presence, it said nothing. It simply watched. It came in the night, not hidden, just invisible to those not tuned for war. The animals fled, the wind reversed, and your heartbeat for the first time in decades paused. It did not attack. It waited. And so you stepped into the dark. The creature that met you had no name you could recognize. Its shape was almost human, but wrong. Too perfect, too cold, a mimicry of flesh molded over a truth too ancient to label. Its eyes shimmered not with thought, but with intent, a hunger that did not seek food. It sought resonance, as if it had been searching. And found you. You struck first. It did not bleed. Your fist connected with a surface that felt like bone grown from black stone. The impact cracked the trees behind you. But the creature didn't move. Its body absorbed it, not like endurance, like understanding. It learned, and then it moved, faster than you. Not stronger, but designed. Its movements were not art, not improvisation. They were coded, perfect. Each step calculated, each strike born of a system you had never seen, yet recognized as familiar. You fought not for victory, but for information, because something in your bones screamed now. This was a test, not from an enemy, from your origin. The battle blurred. Keys slammed against silence. Your speed tore through terrain, but each moment the being adjusted, as if it were built to measure you, mirror you, push you to the edge where instinct ends and identity begins, and you reached that edge, bleeding, grinning, alone, and then it spoke one word in no language known on earth, yet you understood it. Rise, not as a command, as a welcome, and your body answered. The power that flared from you was not transformation, not a form unlocked. It was a remembering. Your body did not change shape, but your stance altered. In your head, hundreds of movements aligned. Formations, patterns, strikes that belonged not to a martial artist, but to a commander. Your ki, once flaring wild, now condensed, like a weapon sheathed for the first time, and your soul opened. You moved with certainty now, not guessing, not reacting, but predicting, controlling. Not like a fighter, like a Primarch. The being before you tried to adapt again. But it failed. It was not built for you. It was built for the child you were. not the soul you'd become. You struck once, only once, and the forest fell silent. Its body crumbled not with death, but with completion. Its mission fulfilled, its purpose achieved, and where it fell, something rose, a shape etched in the ground, a symbol you had never seen but felt carved inside your marrow. 2 wings, 1 sword, a sun behind all. You stepped back, breathing hard, not from exertion, but from awe. This was not a fight, it was a reawakening. A final gate breaking open. The next day your eyes looked brighter. Not in color, in presence. When you spoke, your voice carried across distance with no effort. When you moved, you left echoes. And far away in a chapel deep within a derelict void station, an ancient relic lit for the first time in millennia. It had no name inscribed, only a designation. Echo Flame, blood-right armor, awaiting claimant. Its light rose, and so did the eyes of forgotten servitors who remembered only one phrase: the son who was lost has returned. Back on Earth, your dreams grew longer, deeper, not of war, of command. You began to see legions kneeling, not to power, to you. Not out of fear, out of trust, their names came to you. Not all, but enough. You could feel their armor, smell the promethium, hear the clatter of bolters held in reverence. And when you awoke, you found yourself speaking words no one had taught you. Legion Primus, report. The wind carried no answer, but the galaxy did. Ships moved, codes decrypted, and on a moon thought lifeless a vox chime whispered across an empty hall. Voice print match confirmed. No revelation is ever welcomed in the Imperium, not without permission, not without chains. Miracles are not praised, they are filed, dissected, categorized, sealed, so when word of the anomaly slips past the warp-clogged filters of the segmentum pacification network, when the Ordo Hereticus receives an unsigned echo log marked only with the phrase "Sun Unbound," the reaction is not one of inquiry. It is extermination. Not public, not loud, just a name on a data slate. A ship deployed under black silence. No flags, no hymns, no glory. They do not come to investigate. They come to remove, to burn, to forget. The ship that approaches Earth is not marked with ecclesiarchal seals. It is built for silence, engineered for ending legacies before they begin, the kind of ship even rogue traders pretend not to see. Its captain is not an inquisitor by title. He is something older, something without title. He reads the logs in solitude, his eyes scanning the anomalies. He sees the pulse of warp recognition. The echo pattern matching Primarch rhythms. The unexplainable surge of soul print over a world thought disconnected from the astronomican's gaze. And he knows. He has known before. It is not the first time the Imperium has felt such things. And each time it ended in blood. Some embers, he murmurs, should never relight. The order is given. No warband, no Thunderhawk strike. Only one unit. The Silence Team, a classified squad of 6, trained not to capture, not to convert, only to end. They descend in the quiet hours. No alarms, no radar, no defense grid on Earth is calibrated for them. They find you standing in a clearing. You do not look surprised, you look ready. The moment stills, your friends, your family, and they are miles away. Something inside you had told you to come here alone at this hour, beneath this sky, and now they stand before you. 6 shadows, not warriors, tools. You feel it in the way they move, not with pride, with programming. Their weapons hum with anti-psyker charges. Their armor is coded to confuse the warp. Their minds are locked behind layers of conditioning meant to resist demonic temptation. But none of it matters, because you are not a demon. And you are no longer just a man. They speak no words. The first attack is surgical. A gravity lock aimed at your lungs. A psychic disruptor fired into the soil to shred ambient Chi. A null aura charge meant to suppress thought-born energy. None of it works. You step forward and the earth does not shake. It bows, the air does not hum, it pauses, and your voice for the first time carries a tone you do not recognize, but the galaxy does. It is the tone of command, the tone of a son made for war. I do not want this, you say, and in that moment 3 of them freeze, not from fear, from recognition. They have heard that voice before, not in life. In records, in training runs, in repressed archives, it is the tone of a Primarch just before war, a note of divinity wrapped in decision, but their minds are sealed. So they move, they strike, and you respond, not to kill, to demonstrate. Each motion is clean, deliberate. You do not show power, you show design. Your fist meets the null field carrier, and instead of resistance, it fails, not from force, from rejection, as if the null itself cannot comprehend you. A psi blade swings toward your neck. You catch it. It screams in feedback, not from heat, from incompatibility. It was not built for this. The squad is dismantled in seconds, not destroyed, laid bare, breathing, broken, defeated, and only then do you ask, who sent you? They do not answer. Their implants won't let them, but you already know. Far above, the assassin captain watches through the retinal link. He does not blink. He does not swear. He simply leans back and writes one line on his private terminal. Primarch level confirmed. Escalation inevitable. Back on Earth, you stand beneath the trees. You do not feel triumphant. You feel defined. This was not proof of strength. This was confirmation of your inheritance, of your identity, and of your position. You are no longer hunted for what you might become. You are targeted for what you already are. A Primarch, unclaimed, alive. And the Imperium does not allow unclaimed gods. Every Primarch was forged with a legion in mind. They were not raised. They were built, mapped to command, shaped to inspire, bred to lead not men, but symbols. Each bore a design encoded in something deeper than gene seed, something mythic, mechanical, and metaphysical. When they were cast across the galaxy by the ruinous powers, their legions awaited them in silence. Those who were found reclaimed their armies. Those who were lost left behind ghost banners, archived heraldry, sealed vaults that never opened again. You were one of those, and your legion never received its name. It never received a color. Its battle cry was never uttered. But it was made, and now it remembers. It begins on a derelict moon near the edge of the Segmentum Obscurus, a tomb fortress abandoned during the Horus heresy, sealed by decree of the Sigillite himself. Its halls are frozen in time, armor racks untouched, gene seed vaults cryo-locked in purity. For 10,000 years, nothing stirs. Until now, one chamber light flicker. Just one. A golden filament hums and glows with ancient energy. Not from a machine spirit, from a signal, a voice, not heard, not spoken, felt. Deep in the subcore, a cogitator breathes for the first time in millennia. Its runes glow faintly, stuttering as it parses the message, not words, a soul print. The match is not perfect, but the resonance is undeniable. Authorization, L17 designation, Praetorum Ignis. Status, command presence detected. Protocols unlock, servo arms move, and armor plates forged for giants begin to rise from slumber, elsewhere in the buried crust of a dead forge world scorched in the age of apostasy. A gene vault cracks. The Mechanicus priests who tend it fall to their knees, not in prayer but in recalibration. The sigil once hidden beneath rust now glows with a heat their auspex cannot interpret. A twin dragon insignia fused with an unfamiliar seal, a circle pierced by flame. An ancient Magos speaks only once before sealing the chamber. Reforge the line, he walks again, and across the void, scattered echoes of your forgotten legion begin to respond, some in silence, some in fire, some in dreams. You feel it not as knowledge, but as pressure. You sleep and you see men kneeling before a banner you've never seen. You hear chants with no language. You feel steel locking around your limbs, armor you've never worn, yet feels like memory. You are not alone. You never were. You were separated, not erased. Your bloodline had no records, but it had relics. And relics remember. You begin to wake with marks on your skin, not wounds, not scars, shapes, patterns that shift beneath your ki, glyphs that only show when you gather your power. They are not Saiyan marks, they are unit symbols, squad sigils, rank indicators, tactical language etched into your flesh by something deeper than biology. And as your command presence rises, something terrifying occurs. The galaxy begins to choose, not in politics, in gravity. War bands of chaos suddenly reroute without explanation. Hive worlds report spontaneous power surges centered around relic vaults once belonging to non-designated units. An Adeptus Astartes librarian on a long-abandoned watch station receives a vision so violent that it kills 3 servitors and blinds his escort. He writes only one thing on the deck wall, in his own blood. He was never lost, just hidden. And all the while, Earth remains still. You walk the hills now with your breath steady and your steps slower. Not out of peace, out of awareness. You can feel the pull of the stars in your skin now. Not metaphor, not poetry. Gravity tugs at your attention. You begin to listen beyond atmosphere, beyond the planet. You start to understand how wide your voice can carry when you do not use your mouth. You begin to call, and across the galaxy soldiers long buried begin to answer. Some are dead, some are in stasis, some were never awakened. But they all know your name. Not the one Earth gave you. The one the Emperor whispered once in the silence before scattering. And now, the legion that never marched may rise, not sanctioned, not accepted, but true. The warp does not weep, it watches. It is not a place, it is a mind, fractured and infinite, devouring and dreaming. A realm where thought births monsters and memory feeds war. When a Primarch lives, the warp feels it. The Chaos Gods remember them well. Some served, some defied, some were broken, some were claimed. You they do not know. And that is what terrifies them. Tzeentch sees the strands of fate begin to twist. Patterns he once predicted, now blurred. Forks in time that did not exist before appear. One path burns brighter than the rest, one soul not indexed, one echo not charted. He tries to pull it closer and recoils. It is not shielded, it is closed, as if the soul had chosen to be forgotten. Horn rages louder now. He senses something pure, not just powerful, but undiluted. A warrior who kills not for blood, but meaning. There is no hate, no madness, no thirst, only purpose. It enrages him. He screams across the eye of terror and sends his champions into motion. Slaanesh flinches. The soul sings not in ecstasy, but in discipline, a harmony so refined that indulgence cannot penetrate it. What kind of god cannot tempt a being with no desire but clarity? And Nurgle, patient, kind, offers welcome in decay, but your soul is not made to rot. It is made to ignite. They send visions, demons, echoes of past and future. One night as you sleep, the warp touches the edge of your consciousness. It brings you a vision of fire, not destruction, judgment. You see yourself atop a battlefield, not of earth, but of metal and ruin. Armored, cloaked, your voice booming across miles. Behind you stand titans, not gods. Men, your men, but they wear no known sigils. Their faces are scarred by nothing Earth has ever seen. And then in the distance something answers. A throne, empty, waiting. You wake with your hands clenched, breath like steam, eyes blazing with a light you did not summon. Your body hums with control, but your heart begins to question. What are you? Saiyan? No, that name is too small. Human? You have outlived the word. God? Not yet, but close. The next time you meditate, you are not alone. The world falls away, the air stills, you open your eyes inside a void, and a figure waits, not fully formed, not speaking, not hostile. Golden light pulses from his shape, yet he does not glow. He stands like a statue that forgot it was once a man. You know him, but you have never met. The Emperor does not speak, but you hear him, not in words, in expectation. He has seen you now, truly seen you. The silence holds weight, not judgment, calculation. You wonder if he feels pride or regret. You wonder if this meeting is his will or simply his consequence. You ask the only question that matters. Did you leave me on purpose? There is no answer, only light, and then absence. You wake with a scream buried in your chest, not rage, not pain, recognition. He is real, he knows you, and he let you go. Whether that was abandonment or protection, you cannot tell. But now you must decide. You are no longer a secret, no longer safe. The Imperium will not come to kneel, it will come to judge. The warp will not offer peace, it will demand allegiance or death. And the Emperor, he will not guide, he will only watch. You are the flame that should not exist, the sun who walks alone, but not for long, because far across the stars your brothers begin to stir, not by name, not by blood, but by resonance. A fist raised in memory of what they lost, a whisper traded in battle cant across old vox channels, a name without syllables, known only by presence. You are becoming something more than a legend. You are becoming found. You do not sleep anymore. Not truly. When you close your eyes, the world does not fall away. It fractures, shifts, aligns into places you've never seen, but which your soul recognizes with aching clarity. These are not dreams. They are memories that haven't happened yet, and always they lead you to the same place. Terra, the cradle of mankind, the prison of the Golden Throne, a world where history is embalmed in silence and worship. You have never stepped foot upon its scorched soil, but now it opens to you like a wound. You walk through it alone. The skies are gold and black, shrouded in smoke. The air smells like burning parchment and sacrificial oil. The streets are silent, not from peace, but from obedience. Statues tower overhead, none wear your face, none ever did. You pass cathedrals where the faithful kneel, chanting litanies written by hands that never knew what you are. They do not see you, or perhaps they refuse to. Your presence brushes against theirs like a shadow they were trained to ignore. And yet, some do look up. A child, a custodian, a servitor whose mechanical eye whirs longer than protocol allows. They sense something, not rebellion, not holiness. Something older than permission. You walk past administratum towers where adepts tap their data slates in endless rituals, counting the dead, measuring the dying. You hear a prayer written in binary begging for guidance. It ends on a name you cannot remember learning, but which makes your breath catch. Yours, not Goku, not even the name your mother spoke when you were small, a name you've only heard in the silence between dreams. Your name as a Primarch. And in that moment, Terra burns, not with fire, with recognition. The vision fractures. You stand now in the hall of the Astronomicon, a place no mortal sees without consequence. The room is empty. No psychers scream here. No black ships unload the next sacrifice. It is quiet. A throne of light pulses above, but its fire is distant, as if the Emperor is elsewhere, or waiting. You hear no voice, but you feel watched. This is not just a place, it is a mirror. And what it shows you next is not past, nor present, nor prophecy, it is choice. You see yourself on Terra, not as a stranger, as a warlord, not cloaked in gold nor draped in worship, but leading, reforging, burning away what cannot survive. Behind you stands a legion not drawn from old charts or sanctioned archives. A force called from silence, Built by loyalty, not record, you see a new Imperium, brighter, harder, free, but not all see it as salvation. The Inquisition raises their hands in fury. Astartes splinter, some kneel, some bare their blades. A schism tears across the stars, and your name is etched in every fragment. You reach for the image, but it flickers. A second path shimmers beneath it, you cloaked in exile. Watching from distance, never crowned, never challenged. A silent guardian who never steps forward. Terra continues. Slowly, blindly, safely, and dies in millennia of rot. Both futures carry weight, both futures cost. The vision does not choose for you. It ends, and you return to Earth, not with an answer, but with a burden. You stare at the sky, and now it feels smaller. The stars no longer tease you. They need you. Somewhere in the void, an astropath cries out in fire. She has seen your face. She draws it in blood on the floor before collapsing. The sigil matches no record, and yet the ecclesiarchy declares it heresy, because prophecy is only holy when it aligns with their control, and you do not. Aboard a silent warship, the captain of Silence team kneels before a new order. Escalation denied, the voice tells him. Observation only. He hesitates. For the first time in his service, he asks why. The answer comes not in words, but in a symbol transmitted through the black vaults. A forgotten seal, burning now with living flame. One word beneath it. Brother. You wake before dawn, your hands shake, not from fear but from arrival. You are no longer a question. You are a presence. And whether Terra welcomes you or not, it will know you. Because the future no longer unfolds around tradition. It burns around your name. They never expected you to rise. Not from warp storm, not from laboratory, not from planned descent or rediscovered cryo vault. You are not forged in fire, you fell in silence. Not as a conqueror, not as a weapon, as a child, and still. You became everything they feared. The Inquisition's last report never reached its intended archive. Somewhere between segmentum relay posts, the encryption folded in on itself. Not by hacking, not by heresy, by reaction. The Imperium, like the warp, is a creature of memory. It processes threats not by danger, but by familiarity. It understands chaos, it understands rebellion, but it does not understand you, because your soul defies categorization. You are not a mutation, you are not an accident, you are lineage unacknowledged, you are a truth without permission. The fragments of your legion stir now across the stars. Sleepers awakened, vaults unlocked, armories relit in fire not seen since the days of the Great Crusade. They do not march beneath banners, they move in echo, in silence, and they come not with demands, they come with purpose, to serve. You do not crown yourself, there is no declaration, no throne seized, but those who stand in your presence feel it, that quiet weight of inevitability, not born of power but of right. Somewhere in the Black Library, a harlequin scribe sketches your form into a forbidden codex. He does not know your name, but he titles you the 10th Flame. On a dying world far from starlight, an orc warboss screams as his wah halts mid-charge. He cannot explain it, but he turns from battle claiming, "The stars ain't looking right." And on Terra, the Emperor still does not speak, but the Astronomicon pulses off beat for a moment, just once, like a breath held too long. Back on Earth, you stand alone, no fleet, no council, no declaration of war, and yet the sky listens. You feel it, a second heartbeat layered beneath your own, one not of flesh, but of legion. Your power no longer surges for battle. It waits, balanced, measured, ready not to strike, but to lead. And then you hear them. Not voices, not transmission, not psychic howl. Footsteps, dozens, hundreds, thousands, You turn, and across the field shadows emerge, men and women who do not wear badges, who carry weapons made from myths, who kneel without command. Some of them you have seen in dream. Some you have never met, but they all look at you as if they've waited lifetimes. As if you are the answer to a prayer they never dared speak. One steps forward. His armor is cracked, ancient, markings scorched off by time. He speaks only one sentence. Command us, Father. And you do not deny him, because the truth is now burned into the galaxy's skin. You are not the boy who fell from a pod. You are not the warrior who chased strength. You are not the wanderer who fought gods for joy. You are what they buried, what they feared, what they needed. The Primarch who was never named, the sun who was never summoned, the ember they could not extinguish. You raise your hand. The legion rises, not to conquer, to begin. And as your voice carries across systems never mapped, across chambers sealed for millennia, across the boundaries of faith and denial and silence, one final truth takes root. The galaxy will never forget you again. Whether it burns for you or because of you, you have returned.